Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. My name is Sky, and with the latest Rapier buffs, there are going to be a ton of new people trying to play this weapon, but there are also going to be a lot of people lost on how to use it. We're here today to give you a quick guide on everything we know to give you a head start on the competition. Today's video is going to be about the strengths of the Rapier, the best things about it in PvE and PvP combat, an amazing talent build to get you started, stats, perks, and gems, some tips on how to play with it, and some devastating weapon combos. I hope you all are ready for this, so I'm going to cut to the chase and get started. Some strengths of the Rapier is that it has a very high mobility. You can fly all around the battlefield with this weapon. With the constant evades and flashes, you're moving at the speed of light. It is by far the most mobile weapon in the game, and you should take advantage of it. It has excellent burst damage as well as consistent DPS, highest outplay potential in the game, and it is absolutely amazing if you know how to counter other weapons. Now that you know some of the strengths, let's move on to an awesome starter build. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're in game right now, and at this point, we're going to assume that you at least have some know-how of what to do with this weapon. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. Then let's get to it. Now, for starting off leveling this weapon, if you are going to be AoE farming with, pulling everything and then finishing off with the Rapier, I would recommend grabbing Tondo and, Flesh, as well as Riposte to just give you some nice AoE damage and quick, tags with the weapon. But if you aren't going to do that and you are just, leveling it up just by using it and trying to get the hang of it, this is going to be the best build to go. First, you want to go into the Grace Tree. You're going to want to grab Evade, Riposte, and Flesh. These three abilities are absolutely phenomenal together. Riposte is one of the strongest abilities in the game, and it's getting a nice cooldown reduction from 20 seconds to 12. Evade gives a hefty amount of consistent damage and pressure, as well as giving you some mobility. And Flesh gives you a high amount of mobility with some good counterplay and outplay potentials off of it. So, after we grab these three abilities, we're going to rush down Evade, and we are going to grab Crescendo. Crescendo automatically increases your damage tenfold with the Rapier. The Rapier really doesn't come on until later on, but this right here is one of those abilities that instantly makes you a lot stronger. Each successful light attack reduces the cooldown of this ability by 30%, so allowing you to technically spam basic attacks and evade constantly, making use of talents like Momentum. Gain 25% increased damage on your next light attack or heavy attack after performing an ability. So even with just all of this and Momentum, you can do a nice amount of consistent damage. That's why in PvE, you always want to try to pick Evade for the constant damage and pressure. So after we grab those, you're going to want to fill out Flesh. Flesh is very good for AoE farming and, doing some nice backstab combos with your abilities. The whole purpose of Flesh and all the talents that they built into it is for fleshing through the target and immediately turning around and using interruption on them. Pressing the light attack button while you're in the Flesh will instantly do an attack, dealing 115% damage. This also combines with things like Momentum. We're also going to pick that up as well. It is very, very powerful. After we grab Momentum, we're going to work on filling out Riposte, and it is phenomenal for setting up combos with either your other weapon or even other damaging attacks with the Rapier. So we're going to make Uninterruptible, the cooldown reduction on your other abilities after landing a Riposte, and the longer stun. Now for these last 5 points, it entirely depends on what you're doing and what your play style is. Personally, I like doing a lot of PvP. I don't do much PvE, so I'm going to grab the 3 stamina on hit because even that 3, 6, 9 stamina I get from an attack chain can give me an additional roll to get the heck out of there. I'm going to make sure I pick this up. I'm also going to make sure I pick up Swiftness for the extra movement speed while I'm attacking, so anyone that's running away can't escape me. I'm going to also make sure I grab On Guard for the 10% additional damage when a target has greater than 50% health. This is also very good for starting off a damaging combo, swapping to your other weapon, which could either be a bow, a musket, an ice gauntlet, a fire staff, and finishing them off with that weapon instead. So that's very, very powerful, 10% flat damage. And we're definitely going to make sure we grab Red Curtain. 5% cooldown reduction on any critical strike is very, very powerful. And if you want to make it even more powerful, you can grab Reduce all cooldowns by 1% on any hit. So this right here is a real basic build on getting you started. This is the one that I use 99% of the time. I'm going to be testing with blood after the patch when it comes out. I'm going to be doing some nice testing in Outpost Rush. I'm going to be putting a video on that for you guys as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now that you have a starter build, let's move on to some stats, gems, and perks. Okay, so now that we're in the stats tree, we're going to be talking about what attributes you would put in depending on what weapon you are using currently. If you're using like an Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff, you would most likely want to go full into Intelligence and maybe a little bit of Constitution, because there's no point in putting any into Dexterity if it's not complementing your other weapon as well. If you are using something like the bow, musket, or spear with the rapier, then you can almost go full Dexterity, and there would be a lot of benefits to that. The only other case that I would make is that for musket, what I currently use, I would go a hybrid, Dexterity and Intelligence, because they both scale off of each other, and you can get a high amount of damage going Dex and Int, for big burst setups with things like 10% to critical hit damage. If 10% bonus damage while target is stunned, slow, or rooted, that can pair with your riposte as well. 10% bonus damage to backstabs. So all this right here can pair really well with the rapier if you set it up properly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the gems for the rapier, there's really going to be 3 main options. Number 1, if you're going to use the rapier as an alternate weapon, meaning not using it as like your primary DPS, I would suggest putting an emerald gem in it. It's very good for high mobility and chasing down those targets to finish them off. With the backstab combos, the flesh, the on-demand burst damage that it can bring, it's very good for that. And for that, I would recommend the emerald. 20% additional damage with targets less than 30% health is very good for that. Now, if you're going to be using it as your main source of DPS, I would definitely recommend the opal. Then, that's 15% damage while your stamina is not full, and you're going to be rolling around a lot, constantly moving, using evade on cooldown. You're going to be using a lot of stamina, so you should be able to get a lot of value out of this. Now, if you're going to be using the rapier, more like a half weapon. For an example, for me, I use a rapier plus a musket, and I like to use them both equally. So I would put an emerald gem in there, and it's very effective with my stat-based setup. If it was maybe a bow rapier, I would probably recommend the emerald and not the sapphire gem, just because the bow can burst them down really well, and you can use that rapier as an executioner. Okay, so now that we're talking about the perks for the rapier, there are plenty of options to really make your weapon more effective. To start off with the top tier perks, we're going to start with Enchanted and Rogue. Enchanted is very good for that consistent flat percentage damage increase, and Rogue is incredible for PvE boss fights, as well as setting up damage combos with riposte stuns. Vicious is very good for the critical strike damage and the RNG from that, and it also benefits from backstab damage as well. Now moving on to the lower tree, Keenly Empowered is very good for the critically strike. Whether you're behind the target or just a random RNG one, it's very good flat percentage damage increase on your melee weapon. Sundering Riposte is absolutely insane for PvP. It reduces the target's damage absorption by 14% for 10 seconds after you land the riposte. So after you land the riposte, you can set up disgusting combos if you have the Rogue or maybe Enchanted and Vicious abilities to absolutely devastate people's HP bars and just leave them crying home to their mama. On the final tier, we have Keenly Jagged and Omnidirectional Evade. Keenly Jagged is effective, if you're constantly getting critical strikes, to almost have like a permanent 7% damage per second debuff on them. But it's not the best option in the world. Omnidirectional Evade is great if you're using, Rapier for a main PvP DPS weapon and you're running like, I don't know, maybe a heavy armor setup. That can potentially be very good as well. And as for jewelry, the thrust damage is very good, as well as the elemental damage ones that specifically increase, like, I don't know, frost damage or fire damage. That's if you're running that elemental gem. But for the perks, these are the best ones and favorite ones that I've ran and I've personally used before. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're in game right now. And to talk about some of these tips, number one is going to be you can use evade to animation cancel anything you're doing at that time. For example, If you were to hit riposte and they don't land on the riposte, you can evade animation cancel to get out of it. So for example, I press riposte, they don't hit it, I evade to animate out of it. Now, another example is if you heavy attack and they are out of range, you can even evade forward and maybe get a quick lunge stab off. Using evade as an animation cancel for anything that you can do is what separates good players from bad players. You have to remember, using the rapier is all about skill, timing, and counterplay. This isn't a weapon where you just mash left click and evade cancel left click. If you're doing that, you're not using the weapon to its full potential. This weapon is all about its high mobility, consistent damage and pressure, and amazing counterplay. Another tip is that you can use flesh into a backstab combo. You can flesh through the target, rotate your camera 180 degrees to where their back is, and press the light attack button to get an instant attack off directly in their back. I'll show you an example right here. So we have a wolf here. We're going to flesh through him, rotate the camera, and get a backstab off. It is very effective, this combo. This is how I kill a lot of the casters and mages / healers that I do. Especially if they're wearing light armor, a simple combo like this one is incredibly effective, and it is a must-know if you're going to use the rapier. Another tip is using riposte to set up multiple combos and abilities. Now, for someone like me, I use a musket and a rapier. What I can do is I can riposte a target, and I could swap to my musket, drop a trap right on top of them, maybe throw a sticky bomb, and then get a couple headshots in. Now, using that riposte to set up other things can make it highly effective as a second or maybe first weapon option. Okay, so example of one basic combo would be riposting, dodging to their back, and getting an automatic free heavy attack. So let's perform it now. We'll get this wolf to attack us. We'll riposte, dodge to his back, heavy attack, and that's a lot of damage. So what you would do is you can even perform things like a heavy attack into evade, animation, cancel, forward, lunge, basic attack. You could set up a lot of different things with it. Another thing you could do is you could use evade to dodge enemy attacks. This is very effective when you don't have much options left and you're running away from a melee. You can use evade to easily dodge attacks and kite them no problem. Even Great Axe Hammer players or Great Axe Hatchet as well. So we're going to keep using it right here. We're going to dodge left and just easily dodge out of the attacks. There's not much they can do. Especially if you're dodging, evading, getting extra cooldown reduction from basic attacks, you can get a lot of value out of abilities like that. Another tip for the rapier is that you can use your abilities in quick succession to get away or chase targets down very quickly. For example, you would dodge, evade, animation cancel, dodge, and flesh. Using that in quick succession can give you a good 15 to 20 meters almost instantly. Let's try it right here. Dodge, evade, dodge, flesh. Using this quick combo right here will give you a lot of distance to cover or even get away from. Now, it's also very good if you, at the end of that flesh, can land a backstab combo onto a fleeing target. We're going to do it one more time in very quick succession. Dodge, evade, dodge, flesh. That right there is a very good gap closer or escape tool. Okay, so now an example of a really high burst combo. Something that I personally like to do that requires no other weapon, only the rapier, is riposting, getting a heavy attack off, fleshing through them, rotating the camera, and backstabbing into a lunge forward evade basic attack. I know that may sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo right now, but with the animations and everything that I'm going to display, it'll make a lot more sense. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up this starter build, new to rapier gameplay video and guide. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to upload more videos about the rapier very soon. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate every single one of you who like and subscribe. My name is Sky from the Comeback Kids, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.